Ladies and gents, let's have a quick chat, shall we? So I had to take another video down. I say another, the last one was like before Legion, which was talking about the RNG loot and stuff like that, and people really didn't want to hear it, so I'm fine with taking that one down. This one, I didn't take it down because of the negative feedback. I took it down because somebody tweeted me saying, I think people are walking away from your video and trusting in your opinion and thinking that I told a lot of people not to like interrupt and to never move from damage taken things, and you know, this is bad advice for the community. That's why I took it out, because I'm like, fuck, I don't want people to walk away with that. That is not what I was saying. Holy shit, guys, come on, no way. No, that's not what I was saying at all. So I have to accept responsibility that I must have presented the information the way that came across that way, and I do never, no. I mean, I would never do that. I would never tell you guys to do that. That's crazy. That was really, they really upset me that was like the implication some people got from it. Like, we'll talk about the specific subjects, because obviously there'll probably be many of you who never watched it. So what was the video? It was a simple thing. I've been in Melee for like 10 years. I played ranged a few times. Obviously, I did all the guides as ranged, right? But this is the first time I've been really long-term invested in ranged. I was a Warlock twice in Method, but it was just for raiding. All I did was raid, and plus, like, things like interrupts were done by my pet. Or I just didn't have one if I'd sacrificed it. So it wasn't a thing a lot of aspects of being a ranged I hadn't dealt with. But there's lots of you who've been in ranged forever and a melee forever, and are also in a position where maybe now you're looking to switch. What was it like? What did I notice? And I thought it was a really interesting conversation to have. I thought that's a cool topic. That's a really cool topic. I get asked this quite a lot. So what I did was jump in a violet hole in my monk. It was his second dungeon ever. Jump into there. He's my herbalist for all the potions and shit. That's the only reason I have a second cap character in Legion. And just do a normal heroic where it's no stress, totally chill, and have this conversation. And I can explain what I found and some realizations I had, because I have had some different opinions. And it turned into people getting a really bad impression of what I was saying, which is my fault. Absolutely my fault. So let's hope we can clarify it today, because I think some of you really got a sour taste about me, and it felt... It was made me really, really angry. I'm not gonna lie, it made me really, really angry. And I actually tried to record this before, but I was so angry at what people were saying, because it wasn't what I was trying to say. I'm not angry at the comments or you guys, but angry that what I had said had been taken that way, because after doing this for so long and teaching you guys so many things, I always make videos, and it's wrong, I guess, to do so. Maybe you could comment on this. It's wrong on... I have a certain assumption that you guys obviously know certain things, right? That I want the best for you, that I'm trying to make you better, and I'm not going to recommend things to you that would fucking... I mean, this is all about honesty. This is the only way YouTube works, is to be honest with you guys, always. And if I can't do that, then we're fucked up. And I can't be in a world... I don't want to be in a world where certain subjects are off topic, because people are going to react badly to them. Because it's dishonest. It's lying by omission, right? If I avoid certain topics, like the legendaries, when I made the legendary videos that, you know, people were going to kick off about it because I was spoiling their fun and all that stuff, and I can't be there. I can't do that. If it's something important, I think we should share and talk about it. And I felt this was an important discussion, because there might be people who sat on the melee for 10 years and they're either going to quit WoW or they're looking for something a bit fresh. I thought that was an important thing to talk about. So we jumped in a Violet Hold, and it was a really fun dungeon, and I've got to be honest with you guys, I was really happy with how that video turned out. I was. Before it released, I was like, people are going to get a big kick out of this, because we discovered this add-on. I discovered, you guys probably all know about it, I forget, Personal Loot Helper or something, that checks people's drops, and then it broadcasts it. Now, what was really interesting is in the comments, people were shitting on me for going, that's really toxic. Because there are definitely people who are going to feel pressured to give up an item, even if they know it's an upgrade, because it's only based on item level. It literally checks the item level of what dropped, and it checks everybody else, even in like the raid. People tell me it happens in LFR all the time, to see if anybody will get a higher item level for it. And people were either shitting on me because they find it helpful, and equal amount of people and saying you shouldn't prejudge this thing, and equal amount of people were saying, yeah, it's horrible. I had people spamming me constantly, like throughout a dungeon, that it's an upgrade for them and not for me, even though I knew it was an upgrade, and telling them to fuck off, and people being persistent and keep going and badgering them about it. So it's one of those things where I knew there was going to be this horrible aspect of it, and it's all about item level, which is just in a fucking mess right now in Legion. So I discovered that. I thought that was kind of fun. I died. Some people called that a YOLO pull, and said all kinds of crazy things, like let the ads go towards the portal in Violet Hold. It was a Violet Hold run. And I checked it back again because it was like, YOLO pull, you're reckless, you're being shit at the game. And I watched it. So for those contexts who didn't see it, in fact, I'm going to show the clip. I'm on the top, I'm on the upper platform on the right. The next portal spawns on the down platform directly next to it. It's less than 10 yards. And the amount of people who said I was reckless and YOLO pull for moving to that location, I'm lost there, guys. I'm lost there because I've never been in a Violet Hold where you don't just move to the next portal, and because it's a crap instance waiting for them to spawn. That's not a YOLO pull. It's not a terrible play either. And I was baffled. Of course, I exaggerated it a bit in the video because I'm making a video that hopefully put a smile on your face as to how the tank didn't get there in the time it took those ads to spawn. Notify, because that things travels to the location, the big green orb. They then opens the portal, then they spawn. There's like loads of time, and we had to move less than 10 yards. That was it. But again, people shit all over me for that. And I thought it was really funny because I don't care about dying in heroic. Come on. No one cares about dying in heroic. It happens, right? Who cares? And also, everyone got ice tombed, right? Everyone got ice tombed. I was the only one who stood there, and we did some Hello Darkness, my old friend.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And on top of that, then I ended up healing at the end. So it was a video. I thought it was kind of funny that it was a video about melee against ranged that ended with me healing. And I hadn't healed at all in Legion Live. I haven't healed on a Mistweaver since I did the video, which is fucking 6-7 months ago now. Something like that. I hadn't even put the 1 point in my artifact ability, you know, that unlocks all the lines. I hadn't even done that. I'd done the quest at some point, but I just unequipped it as soon as possible. So I ended up healing. We got through it, obviously, and I thought it was kind of a fun video. But I fucked up on the voiceover, that is what happened. So let's talk about the two things that really set people off then, real briefly. So I talked about interrupts, and I was explaining that as a melee, I've always been very proud of my interrupts, really proud of them, because I was super fast. And twice in major guilds, I've been promoted because of my interrupts. It's something I really, really love. And I try to instill it into every single guide, is that you should be interrupting as much as possible, particularly with a melee. What I was saying is that as a ranged, I have a newfound appreciation for when I've tried to include ranged interrupters, like into rotations and stuff, that tell me to fuck off. When I've done that as a raid leader or whatever. They'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. And it always used to annoy me, but I have a newfound appreciation exactly how damaging it can be to like stop cast. So if you don't know, like as a mage, I'll be casting something, and then if I press interrupt, it stops that cast, and then he interrupts, and then you carry on casting. So it could take you like, depending on stats, it could take you like maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 seconds of lost damage. If you compare that to a melee, that's like 4 to 5 abilities that you're losing, right? And as a ranged, it's just a period of 0 damage. And also your cooldown's on a long cooldown. Your interrupt's on a long cooldown for the most part, etc., etc. And so I was saying, yeah, I do appreciate now that that's a melee job. The melee have a much shorter cooldown for this purpose, for exactly this purpose. They have DPS gains in some cases that come from it, and they're very well suited for it. They're always on the target, etc., etc. So I was explaining that mainly, I don't like that. And that was the point I was trying to get across. I don't like that because I like interrupting. I fucking love interrupting. Now, what came away from that is people thinking that I don't interrupt anymore. No! What? No, not at all. That is madness. And look, I can't believe I have to do this, but here's the logs. Of course. Absolutely, of course. My point was that it is a hassle for range to be interrupting. It does cost a lot of time in some cases, like it does for a mage. It's something you don't try and prioritize as much as possible if melee can deal with it. That's all I'm saying. And they're designed for it. That's absolutely true. Does that mean we don't interrupt? Of course not. That's madness. No, I'm not saying that. I don't do that. You shouldn't be doing that either. And you shouldn't be walking away from a video saying, Preachy told me to stop interrupting. No! I was saying, one, I really dislike that this is a fact. It's a fact that it's a hassle for range to do it. Does that mean I don't do it? No, of course not. Guys, come on. Please. Of course, you have to do it. You can fit it in between casts. If it's something important, what I was trying to say is, let me give you some context to this. If it's something important, of course we interrupt it, right? If it's at range and there's no melee there, of course we interrupt it. There's no questions asked, no qualms, and a good player should always be doing that. But if we then go into a 5-man and there's a mob that constantly chains casts at the tank for shit all damage, like those guys who cast like Corrupt or whatever, and it does like 10k damage on something with 2 million health. This happens all the time. I'm probably not going to interrupt it, and I don't like that. Because as a melee, I would be locking that fucker down. I would absolutely lock that fucker down. But as a ranged, I might do it at the end of a cast if it's something important, because they usually cast like lots and lots of shitty spells and then a big one, right? That's something I've been teaching you guys heavily over the last few months, that's a big part of Legion. I will save my cooldown for that. Yeah? But if it's the shitty cast going back and back and back, probably not. Because I'm going to put myself on a long cooldown, for one, which means the important one that might get missed by melee, who's also on cooldown, is nobody available to do it. I'm going to save it for something important and continue to DPS. That's the correct decision. It is. It is the correct decision. But you absolutely should be interrupting as often as humanly possible as well. You should absolutely be doing that. And I do that. So I don't know what... I mean, again, this is like... I base it a lot on faith that a lot of you would understand that I would never tell you to not do that. Ever. That's crazy. That's real crazy. And the next thing that we talked about was damage taken. So I was trying to explain that as a melee, we move from everything as melee. Because we can. Right? It's something you don't appreciate. I didn't appreciate it as much as possible. If it's something that's going to land near you, you move away from it as melee. Because you can. You can maintain 100% of your DPS while doing that. Absolutely fine. And... if it's something that you can't get away from, the tank will move the target in most occasions. Or it's something you just flat out have to run away from, in which case there's nothing you can do about it. But many times as a melee, I would look at a range to be stood in something and not moving from it and going, ugh, what a dick. What a dick. But what I could say is as a mage, I've got something called Rune of Power. And a Rune of my job. And what I was saying is I have a newfound appreciation for those moments where you know undeniably that taking some damage is in no way going to kill you or have a negative effect on the raid. In any way, shape, or form. It's not going to be a problem. Ever. Right? There might be 1 in a million scenario where you took something that could have been moved out of but would have cost you huge amounts of damage. And I'm talking huge amounts that may instantly catastrophically wipe the raid. But we're talking 1 in a billion chances of that, probably more. These are the decisions I'm talking about. So a good example would be probably the Dragons of Nightmare, right? So if I drop... if you can account... firstly, if you can account for something's about to land where you are and you are going to cast a Rune of Power, that's you being a fucking dickhead. You're stupid, you're bad play, correct it and do better next time. What I'm talking about is things you can't account for, which are absolutely no way deadly. They just contribute to part of the raid damage, which exists in every single fight, right? There's no fight in the world where you can take no damage. So let's say it's the big purple things that fall from the sky. On normal and heroic, they do 10, 20% of your health, right? If I'm in a Rune of Power, I can't account for them landing on me. One of them appears around me. There's no way I can move out of my rune and still be within range of it to actually get the benefit of it, because you can move out of it. And it's going to do 10 or 20% of my health, and I'm at full health, and the raid is absolutely fine. I'm not moving from it. That's the correct decision. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's the correct decision. What I'm absolutely not saying is to stand in a fucking pool of rot and watch your health dwindle away and take like massive stress on the healers. No. No, that's why I included the damage taken in the logs as well. I'm way at the bottom. Way, way at the bottom in nearly every scenario. Because of that. And it was upsetting to me that people walked away thinking, God, Preach takes all the damage now. He doesn't bother interrupting us. No, guys, come on, man. You know better than that. Or I hoped that you would know better than that. But again, I would say it's my fault, because the impression that was given to many of you is that's what I was saying, despite that never being my intention whatsoever. Absolutely never being my intention. And there's the proof. That's not doctored. That's from the last month. This is all public. You can go and check it. This is all just from the last month, and is what happened. So I'm just trying to, as much as I'm trying to like prove it to you guys, at the same time I'm saying that's not what I'm telling you, because that's not what I do. So I wouldn't make a video where I tell you to do that, because that's not what I do. Right? That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. So there's a few other things, like the one about the YOLO pull. There's another... I'm not sure if this is a place to bring it up, because we're already at like 14 minutes. But I'm just going to say this. I have a real issue right now, but it's not something I think I can get away from. Is that I said on my Windwalkers, like, literally it's the second dungeon he's ever done. Is that I wasn't trying to maximize, because I haven't researched the shit out of it. I haven't spoke to people about Windwalker or anything like that. I knew Serenity was better, but all I was saying is this is the way I prefer to play. This is how I do my farming for herbs. This is just what I'm rolling with for this video because it's not a guide. I'm just goofing around so I can talk to you guys while having some reasonable footage and maybe something funny will happen in a pug, right? And I have to preface that by saying I'm not maximizing here because people come here for guides and expect everything to be a guide when it's not. It doesn't say guide. It's just a discussion about things. So I have to preface that by saying, look, this is not optimal. I know that. But because I was doing so much damage, of course the comments came in that, oh, you're a dick because you said you weren't really trying and you're doing loads and loads of damage. That makes you a dick. But at the same time, there's still people who are like, does Preacher know how to play Windwalker? And then someone else was saying, no, clearly he's wrong about this kind of stuff. Again, it's like, I can't win. I don't think I can win in that scenario. I think that's something I've got to deal with. But in regards to the rest of the stuff, it wasn't what I was saying. And I'm really sorry that it came across that way because it tarnishes my reputation as the guy you come to for this information. It wasn't what I was trying to say, right? I was just saying, look, now I'm ranged. I appreciate why people make these decisions sometimes and they're the correct decisions. And I don't like a lot of it because I'm typically a melee who doesn't deal with this stuff and never has to make those kind of decisions. It's not a question of whether or not I should interrupt or not. It's not a big deal to me as a melee. In fact, it's something I really enjoy doing because I'm good at it. And standing in stuff isn't something we do as melee either. We move out of stuff constantly without issue, without losing DPS, and it's a good part of playing it. And it was part of the regret I talked about being arranged. I don't regret my choice at all, but I regret those aspects of it because they're not things I enjoy doing, although they are the correct decision. So I hope that makes more sense. If this one gets a lot of backlash as well, I'm not sure where I can go. I think I've explained it clearly enough. All right, guys, thank you so much. Sorry for giving you the impression that way. If you walked away from my video saying you shouldn't interrupt and I take all the damage, that's not what I was saying at all. It wasn't what I intended to say is what I should say. All right, I'll see you again. Bye-bye.